we weren't live before, where we were saying with unions, would it be more beneficial that there was a paid strike day off, and then why don't they have a paid strike day off?
I mean, they must. I don't understand. I mean, how much of your percent of a wage do people put aside in regards to the unions? Like how much is membership normally per month or per week? You know?
I can't remember exactly. I'm absolutely sure it's something like £2 a week or something. I think it's around.
My nurse friend, my she's paramedic. She doesn't do it because it's too expensive.
Yeah, I know it's.
How much is it, sorry?
I know a lot of nurses and that who don't pay the union fees because it's too expensive.
Because I mean, if it's £2 a week.
Sorry, how often do you see when teachers and that or unions are out on a strike, other than, all right, the firefighters have done it, blah blah blah, all these kind of ones, but the ones that don't do it, how often are they actually out on the streets, and do they need the transport that unions are supposed to offer with this money? I don't understand where this money goes when they do strike and they're not actually taking action on a national level and needing transport and stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, £2 a week may not sound a lot, but imagine how many people of an industry there are. I mean, to take for example how many Royal Mail employees there are, or how many firefighters there are, how many teachers there are in the world in the UK. Okay, not all of them are.
Because I think that was about 8 years ago that was £2.
So I mean, that is quite a lot of money, and it's not like they're striking every single week.
No.
They're striking every now and again. And every time,
not to have a march or some kind of setup like that from a union.
I mean, personally, if I was part of a union,
here's the fees for to join Unison. If you earn up to 2,000, it's £1.30 a month. If you earn 2,000 to 5,000, it's £3.50. If you earn, I'll just reel off, 8 to 11, £6.66. 14 to 17, it's a tenner. And if you earn over 35,000, it's £22.50.
A month.
A month.
Oh. So they do earn quite a nice little bit of wage from just having people membership of unions that don't even actually go out on the street half the time or make efforts to get wages for their workers on the day of strike, or offer to stop things like the 0-hour, 4-hour contracts. So what are they there for?
I mean, I would frankly, if I was a member of a union, I would rather have to make my own sign, not travel anywhere, but process in my local area, and get paid to do it with that money. Because if unions are spending it mainly on billboards, okay, fine, maybe slightly larger ones and so forth, you need that because they want, you know, big signs in the capital or whatever. But most people can make their own sign. You don't need, if you're in the middle of a village, for example, why can't you do your own little protest there, which links everything on a national basis instead of their local city?
Yeah, and to be honest, you've got these signs, this public transport, all this lot. And like you said, if they took the strike, that'd be fine. But then possibly it's the union's job as being a corporate body. I think I was saying earlier, they're like police liaison officers. They're not really there for the people, they're there for the corporate. They're like a little balancing act of, we'll keep them calm for a little while and we'll feed them snippets of things that will stop them burning the building down. And it's like,
I just read a report of the police liaison officers. When the police liaison officers go into court, they ain't so friendly and fluffy.
No.
And
the union reps get in the office building, they're sitting there like Montgomery Burns.
The police liaison officers, they spend time online talking to people like us. They spend time getting to know the movements. They infiltrate the movements, and they facilitate things between the movements when you're actually in action. You know, they aren't anybody's friend. They are there collecting evidence. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't, you know, be horrible to them and start trouble with them. I'm saying that we should, you know, be wary when they come up and they're all overly friendly in that, because they're doing their job.
Is that not possibly what we should do with a union rep then when they come to us with an offer?
Right.
Be wary of what that
Be
offer.
wary. Well, you see, it's like money, isn't it? The money that keeps popping up in tonight's conversation. Money brings corruption. And when you start off with the best of intentions in the world, and you club together and you resource, and you start getting lots of money, you start getting more power to do the things you want, and you start getting more corruption sneaking in. And then, you know, these things, they start floating their money on the stock market and things like that, don't they? You put it there and they start trying to invest it and they start trying to make more money and more money. And sometimes they forget what they're making the money for.
Yeah.
You know, what the initial start project was, and they get consumed by making more money, more money, more money, more money. And I haven't really seen any action from the unions in a long time, yet the workers' rights and the living costs and things in this country are, how bad are they going to get? How many disabled have to die a week before somebody does stand up and do something? And if it's not the unions, who is it?
Well, to be honest, I think they are on this Saturday. I think it's going to be quite a good one because after they've occupied Westminster on Saturday, and they did a bloody good job. I'm well proud of them. After they've done, you know, all that kind of work, and now they back out this Saturday, I think there's going to be an actual move. I really, really am seeing a rise in direct action and different movements rather than a protest. Direct action is working.
But haven't you seen that it's not the unions, it's these independent organisations like the People's Assembly, like Anonymous in the 5th of November. It's not, but you see, it's not, again, sorry to keep mentioning him, but it is again what, you know, what Gramsci said in regards to, it's organisations that are outside of society. Because it's not, unions are part of the system, the People's Assembly isn't.
Is that BBC almost like out the window?
What?
That's where unions need to come together. They need to start incorporating local activism groups and things like that. Because unions are only for workers as well. There's plenty of people that need help.
I think the union people in the union should do it, but I think the union leaders should be put in exactly the same place as where the politicians are.
But I think the union leaders should be responding to the People's Assembly because they seem to be doing brilliantly. I mean, if the People's Assembly was able to unite all the unions, plus all the people unrepresented by the unions.
Yeah. The ones joining now are doing a really good job, but you've got to wonder about the ones that aren't actually moving anywhere in this situation at all. And who's supposed to be representing the disabled people? What kind of union is representing disabled people's works? And now, obviously, you've got this 0-hour contracts and that. Is that not the union that's supposed to be dealing with that and putting out
sort of things?
Yeah.
That's the union's job. The union should just stop that ever coming in.
Well, that should never have gone through the start.
Why the hell the unions let minimum wage be what it is? Because there's no one can live off minimum wage.
No.
And, you know,
well, minimum wage below livable wage, isn't it now? It's below livable wage. There's no.
I mean, living wage in England, in London, is about £8 now, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's way above what minimum wage is.
I think it's about £5 now, minimum wage.
I've been informed. I need 15,000 followers before I can become a religion. So it's not going to happen.
15,000.
I was informed by Friday. 15,000 followers. Yeah, I need 15,000 supporters before they'll allow that.
Well, that's all right.
We've got a way to go then.
No. We just have to find 15,000 people like us that want to be religious. We'll support their religion. They'll support our religion. Yeah. We'll all be a religion.
There we go. We're back in business.
There we go. Got you on that one. Next question. I noticed that when we went off air, I got a message telling me that that wasn't going to happen, and I was like, so now we can send a message back saying it's still going to happen.
There's still a chance. You gotta think of what society's gotten to the point where you can say, I'm gonna become a religion to avoid paying tax. You gotta set back.
Did you see that bloke who built the castle?
Yeah.
Because of the law, every man has the right.
What did he do?
He built a castle.
He was quite a good man in the way that he knew that he had land, and he'd already managed to build a complete go-kart course without planning permission, and he thought, I'm going to build
all the way round. It was
and he put loads of haystacks round the field, and he built a castle. He had like the silos for the grain for the turrets, or what they're called, the towers.
Yeah.
And he built it. It was absolutely beautiful. But I think they made him take it down. There was
behind haystacks for so many years.
Get the Queen to bless it as a castle, because every man can have his castle. Yeah. And I wish he saved that. I would really hope
it was amazing. It was brilliant.
Yeah, he was a brilliant man.
Yeah, that was good. But it goes to show. I see a YouTube.
Did they ask him to tear it down then?
I know that there was a big battle, and I heard somebody told me that they had to take it down, but I've never verified that. So
no, I haven't. But I've heard that. He hid. How many years was it? 2 years.
Well, because there's if it's there for so long, they can't. So they lived in it in complete darkness with this haystacks all around this big massive castle, and then one day they just took it away, and the neighbours were like, one day I just looked out the window and there's a freaking castle right outside, and it's like, his wife was just glad to see the sunlight. I think she was like,
yeah, and it was I had one person today on Facebook post a video up, and the incompetency of the police knowing their law. All right, they know they're legal, but they really don't know their law. They're just like a bunch of. He got pulled over for not wearing a seatbelt, and he sat there debating with them for 20-30 minutes, and the shit that they come out with. But they were still willing to arrest him. They're like, we're going to arrest you anyway for being cocky now. Do you know what I mean? And you look at it and you think, that they absolutely have no clue. And it's like, that's not law, that's legislation. And they're like, yeah, it is. Why is it? Because it just is.
I mean,
that's the thing. The police. I mean, the trouble is that we also forget is that the police don't have legitimacy, but they have power, because if they want to arrest you by force, they will, and the law is always going to be on their side, because they are the arm of the law. And I mean, the law isn't always what's right and what's wrong. It's just what the people in power decide they want to happen and what not to happen.
The problem is, have they got people to the point where they're going to shut themselves in their cars? Because at the minute you're seeing people videoing them through little cracks in the car window, like, no, you can pull me over, but I'm not getting out of the car and I'm not giving you my details. And they're sort of resorting it through the window. Is it going to get to the point where if they enforce it, that we're going to start running over policemen's toes? Because if they push me and pressurise me and scare me that much, I will drive off. And
the thing is, as a woman driver, I don't care if the police pull me over on a country road. I am not stopping until I get to a built-up area. Now, I don't care what laws I'm breaking. My personal safety is my personal safety.
Yeah, I would not pull over for a police officer.
Of women being attacked by police officers out in the middle of nowhere, and I don't care if there was blue siren me and I had to go across fucking fields. I am not stopping until I get
That's what I'm saying.
You know what's funny? There was a story about that actually quite a while ago, about an American girl, and she. Hello.
Hello.
All right, and because it just froze, and she won a case actually about that, and her example was actually quoted in a lot of courts where she was on a dark country lane in the middle of I can't remember which remote hick village in America, and there was a police car had its sirens on telling her to pull over. She thought about it and she ended up deciding to just pull over in town. So she kept driving for quite some time, where the policemen were like sirening, yelling at her to go to stop the car and stuff. Anyway, she got into town and the police drove off. They didn't stop her. She went to a police station afterwards and they said that wasn't a police car. That wasn't a policeman. Someone had stole a police car in that town, and that was that stolen police car that they were looking for. So that person was most probably thinking that he was going to stop her and do whatever, kill her or whatever else.
Yeah, I wouldn't pull over neither.
I wouldn't stop.
And I mean that actually helped a lot of people sort of make their claim in court, because I'm not going to stop for a police in a country lane. A lot of people are saying, which is, I mean, it's fair enough, because in the end, so what if they're wearing a uniform? They're still an individual. You don't know who they could be. You have no idea just because they're in a position.
There has been, you know, in America, there was a copper, there's been, well, quite a few coppers that have been serial rapists that have attacked women, pulled them over in the street, in the roads, and attacked these women. I don't see why, just because they've got a uniform and a badge, you should have to comply. If you drove, like, steady and like, maybe signalled out the window to follow them or to follow you or something to a safe place, I don't see how you've broke any law.
I mean, if you're a good policeman, you wouldn't
deny that, right?
No, you wouldn't. I mean, if you were a good policeman, you'd be like, okay, this person is being sensible because I could be anyone.
Yeah.
So I'm going to follow them and then do the check or do whatever I need to do. Or if they weren't breaking the speed limit,
in the rear view mirror, going like that, right? Yeah, you can understand, but you'd be, hold on, officer. You'd know if the person was intentionally meaning to. I'm sorry, but if I was intentionally meaning to like get away from the police, I'd be ramming them off the road. Simple. I'd just be like, go on, off you go. And that's just how it is. You wouldn't have somebody calmly driving and just refusing to pull over. It's not like you're speeding and you're racing through or whatever. It depends.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference between a getaway and a slow drive away from an area. There's a huge difference.
Yeah.
You know, if you're trying to get away, as you said, you'd be driving through the countryside, you'd be running over pedestrians, you wouldn't care. But they're not. People are just driving sensibly. And I think the funniest video I've seen of this, again, was in America, where there was this lorry driver. I don't know if you saw the video. I think it was posted up quite recently on the 5th of November page, actually. And they were driving along. The lorry driver actually stopped the policeman because the policeman was didn't have his sirens on, was speeding down the road on his cell phone.
Yeah,
And
I see.
You see the trucker? He started beeping and so forth.
Yeah, gun mask in the passenger seat.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, up on the back bit.
But my husband the other night had to go and pick my daughter up, and he ran out of petrol on the driveway, so he went down to Tesco to get some petrol on his bike, and then he come out. He got pulled over by the police because the police had rang. The Tesco's had rang the police on him for buying petrol without a vehicle.
Really?
I mean, God forbid in this weather that you might actually use a lawnmower.
Yeah, and the worst thing is, right, do you hear that one in America? He was asleep on the train. He was asleep on the train. He got arrested for being asleep on the train.
He was asleep on the train. He got woke up by some officers who asked him for ID.
He wouldn't give it because there was no legitimate reason, but basically, he still was. Huh?
On his way home from work, weren't he? He just fell asleep on the train.
Yeah.
And
he wouldn't. There's no reason for him to give them his ID. He refused, and they just literally got their truncheons out, beating him around the ground, and he's like, "It's crazy." I put it on my wall earlier, but yeah, it's absolutely...
That is madness. I mean, what I also got to think is that the trouble with the way the system is now is that it reminds me of so much of the Stanford experiment, you know, where they put a bunch of people, same classroom, and they split them into prisoners and guards. And then they stopped the experiment short because then they just started getting really, really abusive. And this just reminds me of that, but in the real world, in the sense that the governments, or rather the powers that be, are giving policemen the belief that they can do what the hell they want. Yeah. Almost like they are above human. You know, the corporations are gods. They're above human, and we're human.
Yeah, it seems to be in any power at the minute, because a bailiff comes to the door, and I'm not being funny, bailiffs have been that close to being launched across my front garden, because I'm thinking, keep that door shut, do not open, and I wonder whether they goad you just to open the door so you can attack them, so they can get you first, because the obscenities, I've had one call me a bitch, I've had one turn around and say to me, we're going to get in your house and we'll take everything if you're not going to blah 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 do this, all right?
They're not allowed to come into your house. Only the police have the right
but
to
threaten you. They actually, I know
a
handful of friends that could come up and say they've been threatened by a bailiff.
Really?
Yeah, I've been threatened twice by bailiffs. One really nasty syndrome. It was awful.
There's a new law that's come in, and I don't know what it is, but Bristol and Shooter got it up on their website. And it won't affect old debts because the old debts will come under the law at the time, but like new debts, there's new laws. So I'm wondering what new laws they got.
Yep. And now Barclays have changed that. Barclays have got this new thing now where you are you are emergency borrowing rather than going into your overdraft. So you're basically signing into a loan after you've signed into an overdraft.
And it's worse than that.
Into a loan.
It's worse than that with the actual fee, because you get charged £5 a day. That you haven't paid it back for the maximum of 5 days. So Kiki,
so they're like, this is like Barclays got your flipping charges back, didn't we? That's what they're doing.
Kiki could go £5 under.
Yeah.
And she'll have to pay £35, but somebody with a bigger overdraft, because they've got more money, might have an overdraft of 30,000, and they could spend that and only get charged £35. There's no sense of.
Barclays has just committed class war. That's what they've done.
I mean, the class thing's always been there. I mean, it's just been dormant for a time. But I think what we've seen is I mean, the point that we were stating earlier is so relevant. The fact that it's all about money. It's like, what's that what we're saying? It's all about money. Yeah. And the fact is that I think we as a class or as a opposing grouping that are trying to change society for whatever way we believe, need to realize that until we are in this system, until we're in a capitalist society as such, we do need to fight in the same sort of manner, because in the end you need money to live. And protesting is one thing, but again, all they have to do is change a law, and like you've seen with Barclays, like you've seen with the government and so forth, they could change a law allowing bailiffs to come into your home.
Yeah, and they will. Well, I don't doubt they will eventually, because those.
Of course they will.
I think will be back before.
You'll have to repeat that.
Hello?
Pig?
I think she's gone.
Oh, she'll be back.
Coming out.
There we go.
I said prisons will be back. Can you hear me?
Can you repeat that one more time? I think she's gone.
Yeah.
But you were saying about bailiffs?
Yeah, I think that they're getting more extreme and they're getting more brutal. I've seen the videos online where they're physically pushing people have got the cameras out their windows showing the bailiff trying to push and force their ways into the doors and stuff. But I've had them stand there at my door, and I film them as soon as they get to the door, and I open the window, and normally they literally just do an about turn and go. But you do get the odd cocky ones that stand there and they'll goad you and goad you and goad you. And I think the new law was that they're not allowed to come in while there's kids.
Hello.
With you back. They're not allowed to come with children, and they're not allowed to come in if you're not there.
Wow.
But the fees rose. It's now £220 for a visit.
I mean, just out of
curiosity, the best thing you can do is, I think the fees went up with that new law.
Yeah, they did. They went up to £220.
But I think
I know that.
The best thing you can do is get your kids to open the door. They can't talk to your kids.
No. I think
they won't be long before.
Notice you can put on your door stating that they cannot contact you apart from appointment only. I know it's available online on loads of sites. I think there's the Get Out Debt Free site. They do it. There is a notice you put on your door, and as soon as they do that, they're trespass and liable for a fine. Which means they can fine you. You can then fine them back. Obviously, you'd have to go to court, and it costs you a lot of money, but it stops them approaching your doorstep.
Hang on, there is also the risk that you could go to court and the judge won't find in your favour, because the judge is actually upholding the whole corrupt system. You know, it's not a done deal that you will put this sign up. It's for those that are brave enough to test
the system, and I mean, you got to have a certain front about you. You got to know how to play it. You got to know how to play the system if you are going to go down that road, because it's almost like it's almost like going into a water with a load of sharks.
Well,
Yeah.
the
No,
whole
it's
thing,
dangerous.
Same as council tax.
is not written for us. The whole thing does not operate for us, and the whole thing will bite you on the arse as much as it can.
I mean,
You
it's
know,
like what I was saying earlier. You are playing against you're playing in a game that you are handicapped with because the system is built to help them, not you.
Yeah.
So you're gonna go to
3 times I've took it to the point, and I've had to end up paying bailiffs at the point of threat of prison.
Jesus.
Council tax. I've 3 times now.
They knocked on my door, and I said, "Put me in fucking prison." I was like, "Take me away, put me in fucking prison." They're like, "You still
Court-ordered, court liability,
still owe it when you come out." I said, "What do you mean you still owe it when you come out? Prison's supposed to be protected as society, is it not? Isn't that not the whole purpose of prison? That I do something wrong, I go and see a judge says, yes, that was very wrong, you didn't pay your council tax, now you're going to be punished for that, and you're going to go to prison. There you go, end of story."
yeah.
Yeah, but that's like reheating your kids' dinner every night over and over and over and over, isn't it? Nightless. It's like you're going to put them to bed early without their dinner, but then you're just going to reheat the same dinner overnight and night and night, so you still got to pay the fine.
I mean, the whole point is that you either pay it or you go to prison. It's not.
Yeah,
both.
but lots of people opted for prison. A lot of people went to prison. It was only 7 days, and a lot of people went to prison instead of paying it.
But surely, I mean, that means that the government should wake up and think, okay, maybe it's because we are pushing our working class to the point of sheer poverty that they would rather go to prison. It's not like they're going on holiday, you know, they're not going on holiday for these days, they're going to prison rather than paying for it. I remember
There is a whole group of old age pensioners that do the council tax, and they constantly, because the debt doesn't go away, they come out, they're asked to pay it again, they don't pay it, they go back to prison, and that's their protest, is to keep getting sent back to prison. Now, where's the justice in that? You know, old people that have worked in this country, what's the point of prison? If it's not to pay your debt to society, what is the point of prison?
Exactly. I mean, what is it? This is what the sad thing is as well. If you just go back to America for a minute, we interviewed a couple of people in America that were having, the same kind of issue with debt collectors and stuff within America. But in America, the benefit that they have is they know their rights. There is a constitution which they have, which the government isn't above, so that they know what to fall back on. And they, for example, I mean, with regards to debt collectors, bailiffs, if a bailiff gets in contact with you, all you have to do in America is send them a letter. Now, I can't remember the exact formula of the letter that it is, but as soon as you send them that, they're only allowed to contact you one more time, and that is it. That's the end of it.
Yeah, see, I chuck
a lot
my
more rights than we do.
I throw my letters at the bottom of the stairs, and then I stare at them for about a month, and then I wait for it all to kick off, because I do not see the point in worrying about something I can't do. I can't do nothing about. There is absolutely nothing I can do about it. So I just sit there and throw it, and when they come, I just act so, yeah, okay. And then they instantly know I'm bullshitting them. They know, but what can they do? I'm like, yeah, all right. Yeah, okay. I'm not signing that, but okay. And then they just keep coming back and putting more and more on it. But the only way I've managed to stop that is to pay them £5 a week, right? Which they don't like, they hate it. They contact me constantly, but now they've got past the point where they can charge me for a letter, because I've managed to get out of that now. They can't charge me for any more letters, because I'm paying them every week as much as I can afford, which I've proved in the expenditure form. So they can't actually do anything else about it, so they just keep coming and coming. Now they can't knock on my door anymore because I'm paying them £5 a week, but it's not going to get paid off for fucking ages.
You might as well see it as a I mean, that, for example, you see as a victory. You can almost see that as a new tax almost.
Because in my head, I'm optimistic. I don't think they're going to last that long. I really hope the activism and something's going to step up, and I'm hoping that I will get away with paying 60 quid. Come on, guys.
But with most things,
Get this revolution moving.
Not council tax.
Revolution moving. I got debts to pay.
I've got shit to do.
Most like bailiffs and that, they the collection agencies, you just don't enter into conversation with them.
No.
Because they have no rights until you enter into a contract with them. You know, like if I go on eBay and run up a load of fees and they send it off to some debt collectors, right? I had no personal contract with that debt collectors. They've just brought debt. So it's only when they ring up and catch me ad hoc. Hello, you owe this. How are you going to pay it? Oh, you agree to pay £5 a month. There, you got your contract. That's when you owe them money.
Yeah. See, I read
that initial contract because it's all contract law, and you have no contract with these debt collection agencies. They just buy debt. Your contract was with somebody else, and as a party in that contract, you have a say over that contract, and nobody asked you whether you could sell that debt to that person.
They don't admit it though. They never admit it. Like when I ring council tax. Oh no, I do. I talk all the time. All the time.
Don't talk to them. Don't open the letters. Just send them back. Don't answer the phone to them. Don't enter a conversation with them. Because
I ring them and ask them. The last one that I rang them and asked them is, can I take the police off of my council tax debt? I'm not feeling happy with having council tax. But they go through that rigmarole, and then the one before that was, can I take the roads off of the council tax? And then they spend about 15 minutes explaining to me that road tax pays for that. And then I say to them, can I have the bin collection off of it, because now they've entered a new charge for brown bins, right? So now I feel that they've broken the contract by giving me brown bins and charging me for it, and then also charging me for the fact that they're going to be doing whatever. I thought those bins were our right. We shouldn't have to pay an extra 50 quid for a bin. And then they spend about 15 minutes, to the point I reckon if they could find my number and block it. I do it to social services too. I ring them and ask them silly questions all the time. All the time. I'm like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that?
But you see, it's not a silly question. It's a silly question in this society, but if you think about it, I mean...
I ask them things they can't answer, and they know that they can't answer, because it's absolute bull crap. It's just to wind them up. They're just down the road there. I go in and everything, and I just wind them up. Because they know they're wrong. They know they're wrong.
But like council tax is different to the sort of bills, like other bills other than council tax, because they will send the bailiffs around and things. The debts that you have with like banks or anything else.
How much is that policing bill? How much is that?
Most of your poll tax is the policing bill, the council tax.
Yeah, but how much is that part of the council tax? Because, right, was it today or yesterday there was a fight in Manchester? Two men had a squabble, right? They had a fucking tactical unit out.
Yeah.
There's about 20 police officers there, and I feel like ringing the council tax.
But they had a big crowd.
Saying, can I remove the police again? Because I'm feeling that they're wasting my money on a big scale.
Those two people fighting had a crowd of about 100 around that were fighting, were jeering each other. They were falling out. That's why the police got there, because people
were they?
Different fractions.
What was this about? Because it was outside. Boots. We should have just all gone around sticking boots out stickers on the back of them, and it would have just looked like a protest.
But you see, I mean, that's why they went out there, because they were worried that the shop was in danger. That's probably the reason why. It's like, I mean, do you remember the opening Wave of Action protest? I mean, I think there are about 3 policemen for every protester there that day.
Yeah.
I remember at the end of the day when I remember me and our cameraman, we turned the corner to go into a coffee shop to use the toilet, and I remember we just had a line of police vans with riot gear. I don't know if you saw them, but they were just off one of the main roads, down some side roads, just one policeman after another of vans of riot. And remember we started filming them. We took so many pictures that day now, but there was just so much police.
Saturday, 60 protesters last Saturday. 270 police for disabled protesters. Like, they're so dangerous. We need this.
Oh God, yeah, they're.
That's what we're doing. No, you're not. You're protecting the thing that's pooping his pants in that Westminster Abbey right now. That's all you're doing. No people. Those people were terrified on the edge. Terrified. And they stole the football. Did you notice they stole the football?
Somebody should have put on that picture, turned it into a meme with kind of "We have our ball back, please," because that would have flown around Twitter. I know they put it in like the comment, but if they'd actually made a meme of it, not mentioned what protest it was or anything about that, just a line of policemen with a giant inflatable football and the slogan, "Can we have our ball back, please?"
Yeah, because you had protesters on the outside, and you had protesters on the inside, and the police blocked the line, didn't they, all the way across? So they were kicking the inflatable ball back and forward over the railings, and then you should have heard it. It was so funny. It kind of went over. They went down the police, and everyone just went, "Wah!" No! And they just stood there. We're not having the ball back, but it just they could have just thrown that back. Could have just said it's an inflatable ball.
But you see, it's like they're like children, you know.
Yeah.
They're like those nasty children in the playground. You know, you're having fun, we're bored, so you're not gonna have fun either.
I was actually waiting for one of them to get a flick knife out and go. I was like, bastard.
They probably wanted to. I'm sure they wanted to.
I don't know, because the woman stood in front, you could see her kind of like, should I throw it back? Like, obviously you're new.
But I mean, the trouble also is that you get some policemen that you can see that they joined the force for something else. They joined it because they genuinely believed that they wanted to help people, and that's when it becomes a little sad, because even some of the people that some of the policemen we spoke to during the Wave of Action march, during the protest, some of them just, I mean, they sympathized, they cared. They just didn't. It's almost like they didn't know what they were signing themselves up for.
When we were walking back, we were talking to them. They were quite good. They said to us, "You're always peaceful. You're not a problem. You know, blah blah blah." And she was really nice. And one of them actually didn't she? She had tears in her eyes outside St Paul's Cathedral when we were playing the Chaplin speech.
The Great Dictator.
Yeah.
No,
she stood there, and people pointed it out at the time, and it was blatantly, it was like, yeah, she was literally nearly in tears. So it does touch them. They are knowing what's going on, but they're not allowed to strike, are they? Not allowed to do anything. What are they going to do?
They are going to strike.
Do you
they
think?
Keep threatening it. If they keep pushing their services over to the private.
Should we join?
I'm
up for joining the police strike.
I think you should, because if we stand with them, they'll see that we're on their side. And
the point is that the police are always taking the brunt of everything, and what we got to realize is the police are just ordinary people that are doing a job, and their job sadly is to keep the people in power. So if they're going to protest, everybody needs to join them. All the unions need to join them, because they're the ones that effectively control the streets in a way.
I think as well you've got a different.
If they're not going to strike.
I think we have to wake up to the fact that, yes, a lot of us want change, but we are not big enough in numbers yet. And the best thing we can do is reach out to people, whether they be policemen, army men, your neighbour, anybody. Just reach out to people around you and talk about what your thoughts are, so that it gets out into the mainstream conversation.
When you're at work, you see London and the city police are totally different from the police out my end, because the police officer that has been police officer to the place I grew up, we used to ride past him when that law come in that you could only have one on a bike. We'd try and see how many people we could cram on a bike and like slowly struggle past him to see if we can. It's like, how are we going to get a police officer to chase you? You know, we weren't going to go so far. And he always laughed. He was always funny. He took things jovially. He was great. And I think you'll find that police officers in cities, like certain cities, may be more open to the one at Peterborough at the Vodafone demo, the Queensgate. They got their panties in a twist, and they were like, "We're gonna call the police. You're gonna get arrested." And we were like, "Bring it on, call the police." And it called the police. Policeman was like, "Oh, you're having fun. Oh, great day. Oh, carry on." It was like, see, and I think they're more workable. Whereas in London, they're dealing with protest after protest after protest after protest. They're getting used to dealing with us. They're getting desensitised to it. We should work on our community police.
Also, I would also say that in London, you are fighting it's almost like the belly of the beast in the sense that this is where government is. This is where the
Yeah.
seat of power is. So
Yeah.
anything,
This is where
most
money.
of them, exactly. I guess it all goes back down to money in the end.
Yeah.
Again.
And that's why you don't have no support when you're marching either, because most of the people on them streets that you're passing, they got a bit of money. They're driving their nice cars down the street, and they ain't going to support you because they don't want to. They don't care that there's people starving in the world as long as they're right. I've got a woman on my wall that we absolutely love, don't we? Me and Kiki, we got this woman on my wall. She's horrendous. She thought that MP who bought all them flats and sold them was fair. Yeah, well, no, didn't sell them, so he put the rent right up and said, piss off if you don't like it, basically. All their families.
He thinks social housing should be totally abolished. That that we're people on social housing are scrubbers, basically, and it's not right.
She's actually said, you know, for us to help everybody in the world, it means that all of our living standards have to drop, including yours.
And she actually just found it. She was going, what do you earn? What do you earn? Tell me what you earn. You'd lose out if we all had an equal share. Don't tell me that you wouldn't. I was like, I'd happily lose out.
But the thing is that that's complete and utter rubbish. We would not lose out.
That's what I said.
Oh, you got to think about. I mean, what? Hold on. No, that's not actually true. Some people would lose out. I mean, you know,
yes,
the ones that own 14 yachts, for instance, would have to go down to having only one boat. You know, poor them. But the point is that actually none of us would lose out because it is possible. Because at the moment, the world produces enough food to feed the rest of the world. We produce enough food as it stands now to feed the whole world.
We throw it away.
The only thing that's stopping people from being at the same level as the West is money. Is because people in Africa can't afford it.
More if we spread the 1%'s wealth. So as it stands now, people could actually stay as they kind of are, as if we spread the 1% wealth.
But I mean, even if we
obviously
go on.
Obviously, it'd have to be tapered in some kind of direction because people crave, you know, they crave direction and whatever. So you have to taper it in some kind of way and make some form of challenges, like work towards have your basic needs. You've got basic needs, and your job would only denote what
universal basic income that Switzerland is suggesting,
which is easily attainable without anybody losing anything. That, like you said, has got more than 2 cars. You'd still have your 2 cars. Don't worry.
I mean, everybody, for example, in this world could easily have.
Go
on, sorry.
Go on. You go.
But everybody in this world could easily have, you know, 1 or 2 cars, house of electricity and running water, food, you know, the basic staples that a normal average family in the West have. You know, an average family in the West is you could make that the norm in the world.
Yeah, but only middle class have that right now. Middle class have that, the poor don't. So what is wrong with spreading the 1%'s wealth to make sure that the poor people get the same equality, the same, and also pump it into the NHS care, pump it into things that need repairing and need fixing, get the country back on a standpoint.
Stop this empty war.
Yeah.
Stop this, because I mean, for example, you know, it's almost like they're saying that the country's skint, blah blah blah. Okay, if that is true, then how come the Secret Services get a 15% increase in their budget while everything else gets stopped?
That vehicle that Queenie rides in on her little trips out in her little wagon. Oh yeah, that didn't cost like 50p to build, did it?
Old Free Kitchen Kate.
Huh?
Old Free Kitchen Kate. We're all in this together.
Didn't we just pay for Kate and who's the other prince? I forget. Didn't we pay for their new flat as well?
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, you wouldn't have it any other way, would you?
No, but she paid for the flat. She had a £35,000. We paid for a £35,000 kitchen to be fitted. She decided that she wanted 2 kitchens, so they paid to put a second kitchen in. But then she decided that our £35,000 kitchen wasn't good enough, so she ripped that out, threw it away, and put a new kitchen in. All in this together, Kate. All in this together.
All in it.
All in,
Because
all in it again.
I would love a new kitchen because I struggle with that sideboard because obviously I had to rip half my kitchen out to fit certain appliances in because it's not big enough. Because obviously I'd want a second kitchen, but I'd like a fucking bedroom first. I have to sleep. How long did I sleep in my kitchen, P? I think I was sleeping in my kitchen for nearly a year on a put-out bed. Yeah, I've only just gained a room, only because my oldest daughter has decided she's not too scared to sleep in the living room now, which she's turned into her bedroom. So we don't actually have a living room. We're kind of just like mingled into this tiny little box, overcrowded on band 2 on council, which is band 2 equals dream on, you're never moving.
I'm on band 2.
You may be overcrowded, but you're going to have to live with it.
Yeah, that's what we're on.
Jesus.
Yeah, and all you can hear is the fridge.
This was one of that woman's bugbears. She says, well, the thing is that those that have social housing are better off than those that don't have social housing. But the thing is that the reason everybody's entitled to a social house in this country, unless, of course, you had an extreme lot of money, but those that need a house would get one, even working, if we didn't sell them all off and not rebuild the stockpile. The restrictions aren't because of immigration. The restrictions are because we
sold all our social housing off.
Rebuild them, and there isn't enough to go round, so we have to be really harsh on who gets them. The solution is to build more social housing, but they don't want to do that because they are making, you know, how many Tory MPs now own a lot of these council houses that were sold off. When I saw that in a village, some Tory MP owns most of the council houses that were sold off, I had to think to myself, how the hell did he get them? Because I thought you could only buy them if you'd lived in them for so long and you were in social housing and you got a discount based on your term in there. So did they go around talking to people in council houses, saying, you know, like maybe an old couple in his village, he might have said, I tell you what, I'll buy your house, you can live rent-free until you pass away, and then I'll have it.
Oh, probably. You know, something like that.
I would say also not only that you've got a street full of people now that have managed to have that step up into the market at some point in their lives, and a lot of council houses that you go to, council areas, there are a majority of them bought up as well in some areas, and I would say they've targeted the areas which have had the majority bought up already, and they're you know, that kind of thing, they're kind of buying into them. But you had that one that they're just basically dumping people in areas. I'm miles away from my kids' school. Miles. It costs me 50 quid in petrol to get my kids to school and back.
Jesus,
a week.
That's terrible.
They don't fund that because I'm happy. I'm all right now. I was emergency housed, obviously, because my landlord was happy to reap in on the benefits at the time of the housing rise. And then they just go, yeah, that's fine. You're stuck there now. I never wanted social housing because I wouldn't want to live in an area like this. I'm not saying I'm not a prude or anything, but my kids can't play out the front. I'm not letting my kids play out the front. My kids can't have a social life here. We have no friends here. We've got no family here. If my car breaks down, I can't get my kids to school.
Let's get back to emergency housing, because I got put in emergency housing when I left a 10-year abusive relationship. And that, I was working. I had a good job where I worked at home via a VPN onto a mainframe for an international jewellery company. But because I left, I couldn't set up my computer anywhere, because first of all I was in a bedsit, and then I got an emergency house. That emergency house was £280 a week. They gave me a £280 house a week as somebody leaving domestic violence and working. If I had that sort of fucking money, I'd have brought fucking, you know, that was more than a mortgage.
They trick you into situations to get you out of high-rise areas, and landlords now are not accepting housing benefit in a lot of areas, so that is also cutting tenants short on where they can actually go, and there's a select few where you can go. So that means, yeah, there are houses, but it's not going to benefit you. It's going to put your family in financial stress, because I'm 50 quid down a month just from moving. And also, not only that, I've removed my son. My son's got disabilities. he's supposed to go to specialist schools and stuff like that. He's supposed to go to physio and all this, so that I can go for appointments. My son's school was on the opposite end of town, so when he was at school, I was possibly putting about £70 worth of petrol in my car a week. I withdrew him out of school. I deregistered him in January because it's unobtainable. I can't do it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, you know, the housing is a huge issue. I mean, any young person that's coming out from education now will know that getting on the property ladder is a dream.
Yeah.
You know, you might as well think that you're going to meet a mermaid, because it's not going to happen. You know, it's almost become to that point where it's so remote that, I mean, I'm not even go into that. But it just seems that, well, if you really wanted to fix Britain, if you really wanted to help the economy relaunch, if that is what the politicians really wanted to do, surely they'd restart housing projects to the extent that they did after the Second World War. To the point, I mean, can you imagine how many jobs that would come out of that?
Yeah.
Fresh housing that will be cheap, affordable for people. There'll be loads more jobs.
Sell prefab houses.
Huh?
IKEA or somewhere sell prefab houses for about 30,000. You know, how many families living in caravans or bedsits or any other type of emergency accommodation would be glad for a nice eco flat pack house that could be erected dead quick and solve the housing crisis?
Off-grid?
Cheaply.
Oh, Tiny House Europe. We're going to be interviewing them soon. They sell houses for 77,000, I think. You can get a small tiny house.
And I would do that any day. But then, mind you, the Tories are buying up land now, so the land registry, so you won't.
You got to wonder where you're going to put it, though. That's the only problem.
Yeah, where are you going to put it when they've bought all the land?
Exactly. I need to go, by the way, but
yeah, well, we can cut this off now. Yeah, that's fine. Well, it's been nice chatting to you guys.
Yeah, you too. Same time next week.
Bye. Yep.
Cool. See you then. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.